Hey guys, it's me Zuka, and today we are doing another episode of Explained. That's right, in this episode we're gonna cover Crimea, or basically the Crimean Annexation and the current Kerch crisis. So anyway, let's begin. So, as you know, right now there's a big crisis going on. It's very dangerous times right now. So basically, what happened was that Russia seized Ukrainian boats in Kerch Strait, as you can see right here. Here's Kerch, so yeah, right around here. Russia seized 3 Ukrainian boats, and Russia is not giving the captured sailors or the boats back to Ukraine, and this is international crisis. So yeah, anyway, we're not really gonna talk about this as much. We're gonna mostly talk about the Crimean annexation and basically what happened to Crimea, why it happened. So yes. Anyway, let me talk about Crimea first. So Crimea is a part of Ukraine. Well, that's how I recognize it anyway. If you're in Russia and some other countries, including Sudan, Bolivia, and Nicaragua, that's a few I can think of at the top of my head. Um, yeah, you probably recognize it as Russian. However, Crimea, for me, I think it's personally Ukrainian. That's what I believe. So anyway, yeah, Crimea was annexed from Ukraine in 2014 by Russia. Yes, that's right. So yeah, why did this happen? Well, first we're gonna go over why Crimea was part of Ukraine in the first place. If you don't know, originally it was owned by the Russian Federal Socialist Republic, or something along those lines. Basically, Soviet Russia. So Soviet Russia owned Crimea, but then in 1940, not 40, 54, Mr. President of the USSR, not president, but dictator, leader of the USSR, Nikita Khrushchev, decided to give this to Ukraine. Why is still quite debatable, but here's the two reasons which might be the possible reasons behind this. One, Crimea was economically close to Ukraine. It had cultural ties in that, so that's a reason, and that's a possibility. And second is the fact that there was basically the 300th anniversary of Ukrainian and Russian unification, and that's another possibility. That's why Crimea was handed over to Ukraine. Now this wasn't that bad if Crimea was transferred to Ukraine, because the Soviet Union, you see, there was no border regulations or anything like that. No, there was really nothing, so it was not really a big problem anyway. Until the Soviet Union dissolved. Now, no, immediately nothing was really said about Crimea. A few friendship treaties were signed around, uh, and yeah, it's not really that important this era. However, 2014 is a special one. Okay, so this is when the crazy stuff begins. So anyway, in 2014 or 2014, basically something happened. So the Aromanian revolution happened in Ukraine, which was a revolution where a pro-Russian leader was overthrown by Maidan activists. What happened was the president of Ukraine, who was Viktor Yanukovych, signed a treaty which which would let him stay as the leader of the country until the end of the year. But the rebels decided to break this treaty and overthrow the pro-Russian leader, which was him. He was Victor, and he had to flee the country because because of an illegitimate and an illegal government, that's in brackets, was created in Ukraine. Russia called this a coup d'etat. Now, the situation in Crimea worsened as this happened, and Russian separatists appeared, and in the following month of March, actually not March yet, on the 27th of February, little green men, or Russian special forces, started to seize government buildings in Simferopol, So this is basically the beginning of the overthrowing of basically this is the beginning of the Crimean Annexation. On the same day, the Ukrainian parliament voted to basically just make Crimea not be independent. Okay, that was stupid. That was a joke. So basically, what they did was they Crimea was an autonomous part of Ukraine at the time, and they took away the autonomy. The Russian special forces soon began to start seizing Ukrainian bases in Crimea, and kidnappings also occurred. Anyway, so as you can see, slowly Crimea is being annexed, and and the referendum basically took place on March 16th, I believe, and 96% of people who attended this voted for joining Russia. Now, this hasn't been observed internationally. It was all done very swiftly, so we're still unsure if this is real. This is probably not real, but anyway. So yeah, on the 17th, Crimea declared its independence from Ukraine, and yeah, and they requested to um, basically join Russia. They requested to join Russia. Anyway, on March 18th, this happened. Basically, the Crimean government signed a treaty with Russia and would annex the two entities into the Russian Federation. Crimea as a Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol as a federal city. So there you go. That's the Crimean annexation. Now, a lot of countries said no, that's Ukraine, including Georgia. And yes, it's definitely Ukraine. I mean, this is an unlawful annexation. And yes, I'll make a separate a video on Kerch and the whole Strait incident and anything about that. But yeah, so basically I have to say a few more things about this whole thing. So Crimea was allowed to vote in the Russian legislative elections of 2016, I believe. So yeah, basically Crimea was annexed by Russia, and that's how. And soon after this, the Donetsk and Luhansk uprisings began, which is still going on, the Donbas war. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. Feel free to point out any mistake you guys saw. I kind of forgot a lot of things because there's a lot of information which I had taken. I forgot the dates, I forgot names and stuff. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.